Hello and welcome. This is Elisabeth de Charonne de Saint-Germain, and I'm here with Martina Mezzetti, this beautiful lady here with the world's wild kisses, right, on your shirt. And we are here because I invited Martina to talk about what it is in life when you choose to live from unconditional love. What choices do you make when you do not choose from fear or from convenience, but when you dare to choose the things that are really into your soul, that's speaking to you, that might seem very uncomfortable because your soul is not always it's aligned with your spirit and with your whole being, but the world might not be aligned with what your soul wants, because you are here to make changes so that the world gets aligned, right? So this is what we're facing when we're trying to come from unconditional love. And I know Martina very well because she's a dear friend and we work together as theta healers. And I'm so incredible grateful that she is here for the Divine Sisterhood Table Talk to share with us what she has experienced and give us some of her wisdom. And so I'll give you the table. I give the table now to Martina. And this is going to be a conversation. This is not going to be a blah, 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 blah conversation. Maybe it is, but it's more like, there's so many places where there's talking, and so little listening. So I invite you, when you step in and listen to it, to really grab a cup of tea. If you haven't done it, set it on pause, grab your tea. Exactly. I have water in a beer glass. It doesn't matter. Just something to remind you that you are among friends and around a table that welcomes you to be exactly as you are. And just breathe out and tune in with us. So, hi, Martina.
Hi.
Hello, darling.
Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for being here, darling. So, yeah, you know, it's perhaps a good thing to know, where are you at this moment? So you live in the Netherlands, right?
Yes.
And can you tell us a little bit about who you are, your situation, something like that?
Yes. Thank you. I am Martina Mezzetti. I'm 38. I live in the south of the Netherlands. I'm half Italian. My dad is Italian. My mom is Dutch. This year, I'm 22 years together with my husband Bart, and we have 3 wonderful children, 2 dogs. And my entire journey has been about following my heart and searching for the unconditional love, because I knew it was there and I knew it was important to connect to it. But feeling is so much different than just knowing it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
7 years ago, I got into contact with Theta Healing and it changed my life. And since then, I'm a practitioner and I'm a teacher and a mentor for people, for animals. And I use my intuitive abilities to change and shift subconscious beliefs so we can all live our lives from unconditional love and truly do what comes from within. Because to me, that's why we are here for.
Yeah, and what's good to know, that you and I, we are going to, I'm going to work with you, right, in a group program.
Yes.
And so if you want to know more, because we're going to have I'm going to have a program around 6 months that's really inviting you to step into your sovereign being and really come inside of your heart, connect with your soul, and then speak and be present and all of that. But we really need to come from. We need a new paradigm in this
Mm-hmm.
world, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so much opposition going on, and if we only use this brain and not the wisdom of our heart, so it's not going to work. So this is the
No, and the
first
thing
step
is,
to come into that, and you are going to teach theta healing inside of this program so that people can walk out not only having this, but also have the ability to become practitioners themselves if they choose to, if
yes.
it lies into their heart. And I urge you to listen to Martina, what is possible through theta healing. And wow, because we go through all of those shadows if we choose to go from unconditional love. It's not an easy path, right?
No, it's simple but not easy. And it's right what you said, that you create your own paradigm, and our paradigm consists of subconscious beliefs, of what our parents, our ancestors believed, of past lives, of soul programs. And every day we have the free will and the opportunity to choose our reality and to create a new paradigm, and, to be honest, to create our own paradise here on earth.
Yeah, you've talked about that. You have reminded me so many times about that we can use that to open that up. But when you're in the middle of a shitstorm,
Yes.
which is called life, which is called going to school in a system that's just saying like, I don't get you. Why do you want to sit next to the window? Focus on the board. Focus on the board. When everything calls you out to go into nature, la 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 la. How was that for you? Because you've always been a little bit of a, as I know you, I love that you have this word wild, because I know you as a wild, a force with so much love, but also so much raw wildness. How did you manage to go? How was your? I'm really curious. How was your um, start in life at school, for instance? Because
Well, let me first start with that I was born in Italy. And when I was 3, my mom decided to take me and to go back to the Netherlands in the middle of the night.
ooh,
So I grew up from my childhood with a lot of unsafety and a lot of anxiety in my surroundings, and fearfulness. And I remember when I was a small child, I think it was about 8, I was observing my family members, my mother, my surroundings. And I subconsciously decided I didn't want to live my adult life in the same way. And somewhere inside of me, there was a memory, there was a light. I cannot describe it precisely, but there was, deep down inside, I knew there was more. There should be more happiness, more joy, abundance, you name it. And at school, I was the only child from divorced parents, and I was the only child with an international background. So for my mom, it was a struggle to even get me on that school.
really?
Yes, and then the director of the school, he thought that it might be a problem for me to be in a Dutch school and to learn normal things Dutch kids do, and that I might be a problem child. So that's how my elementary school started. And And the thing, what was most difficult for me when I was a small child is that I always felt different. I felt different than my family members. I felt different from my friends. I sometimes felt that I was the parent of my parents. And I felt so much, but I didn't know that most of the things that I felt weren't mine. But you know, children are like sponges. They soak everything up. And then at some point, I had soaked up so much energy or negative thoughts from my surroundings that it just became too much. And I was kind of a volcano and I just collapsed. And then I was more quiet for a while. And then it came back and it came back and it came back. And what I did as a child was shut my heart. I didn't want to feel anymore because feeling was overwhelming. And feeling was too much because I felt so much. And I didn't discuss it with anyone or tell it to anyone because to me it was so normal. So I didn't know as a child that I might needed some help or support or assistance to help me with my, you know, my high sensitivity and all the intuitive feelings and senses I already had when I was a child. So that was, I think, my biggest struggle growing up, is that because I shut down my heart, is that I rejected myself. I rejected others, but I screamed to be seen. I screamed to be heard, to be loved, to be recognized, acknowledged, all of those things. So it wasn't easy. Yeah.
There's so much in what you shared that has to do with when you look at children right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what made you, was there a longing to open your heart at one moment?
Well, the interesting thing is that I subconsciously shut my heart most for others, that but I always seem to stay connected to my heart because my heart was always really clear in my path. And for example, I was really clear in how I wanted to look and which direction I wanted to go, for example, after high school.
What do you mean in how you wanted to look?
I was really, really okay. What I did, because there was so much inside, which I didn't know how to express like in a normal way, like when you hear as a child, you should behave yourself, you should be more quiet because you talk too much. You should sit still somewhere in the back because you are too obvious in the room, in the space.
You take up too much space.
Yes.
Right? How many times? Oh.
Yes, it was. But at some point, I thought something was wrong with me. So I hold myself back, but it needed to be released. So my mom allowed me to use graffiti on my walls. I was painting on my walls. I was decorating things, but I was also really outspoken in how I looked. I had piercings. My hair was blue, pink, red. I was doing everything from the outside, others didn't.
I have spoken with your mom and a little bit worked with. She is amazing. She is so, she's such a force of love.
Yes, and it took me, well, 30 years to see it. And to allow myself to feel her love and to accept her love. I rejected it for 30 years.
Because everybody expresses her or his love different, right?
Yes,
We are not all the same.
I
We
know.
all have a different language, a different vibration.
And I
Ah,
didn't understood her language and her vibration when I was younger. The only thing I wanted was, a warm big hug. But
mm,
that wasn't her at the time. She was taking care of me the best she could as a single mom, and providing me with everything and cooking delicious meals. And she did so much things, but I didn't see it. I couldn't feel it. So I was most of my childhood and my life, I was really pissed off. And I was
mm.
pointing my finger to people, to family, to situations that they were the fault of my miserable feelings inside, of my own unhappiness. So and the interesting thing is what I said before is my heart was always really clear in which direction I needed to take. So, for example, the creativity in my teenage years and the way I dressed really helped me to survive, because there were points I didn't want to live anymore. And I was biking to school and I was waiting for the train to pass by. And I can remember that there were many, many moments that I thought, shall I jump?
Wow, baby.
But
Yeah.
I knew I had things to do here and I couldn't do it. I wasn't brave to do so. So
So
I'm happy I did it.
what was that you knew I have things to do? Is that a voice? What is that?
It's a deep, deep inner knowing within.
Yeah.
But what I also feel is that when you are in experiencing difficult times or moments in your life, there are a lot of guides and angels who help and support you.
Mm.
And to be honest, it wasn't my time to go.
You know what? Can I share something with you that I think is really
Of course.
connecting with this? Yesterday, I had a beautiful healing session with someone, Janet Haase, that I know, an Irish woman, an English woman. And I had some guides to ask things about. And I remembered this moment when I was 11 and it was not a big accident, but it was an accident that made me go out of my completely out of my body and gave me what people would describe as a death experience. And because of that, I could feel a sort of heavenly state, and I was sort of jumped out of it. And I was completely, at that moment, I could remember uh, the, the thing that I was everywhere. I could hear everybody's point of view. I saw how much worth was in the tiniest end, and in the little bird, and then the speckles on the water, and the sun that came in, and I loved everybody. And I completely knew, oh, everything is really loved. Everything is exactly as it should be. And it was so blissful. And I asked her, what was that? Because I always thought without that moment, I would not have been who I am now. Because there were dark moments. And she said, oh, they're telling me it was because you needed an alignment. You were sort of, there were things happening that was brought me sort of out of my whole system. And all at once, I was aligned and horizontal and vertical, and I was again in my body. And I was so grateful for that moment, because without it, I was going in that direction that you are telling me, that sort of, is there a point? Even losing the idea almost of, does it matter if I'm here, yes or no. It doesn't really matter. I don't see any worth until I discovered that even the tiniest ant is as loved as anybody, as any human, anything. It's a tiniest, and it's as much worth as the planet Jupiter. There's no there's no shortage of love and worthiness.
It's all there.
It's all there.
Yes. And I've goosebumps when you say this, because that's the biggest thing that I've discovered. It's all there, but are you ready? Are you willing to see it, to open up, to accept it, and to really feel within you are so worthy and deserving of it? Not knowing it, but really feeling it. And when you, I always call it source, when you connect to that energy of source, you feel that it's always been there, that you are always supported, that all the answers are there you're longing for, that you are perfectly well and perfect already as you are today. But we have so many voices, beliefs, patterns blocked that will tell us, no, you're not. And what I feel, especially women, we can sabotage ourselves really big time. Big time. Instead of choose today, how do I want to feel? How do I want to look? How do I want to dress? And to really be a master, because for me, that's theta healing, you know, connecting to source energy and master your thoughts, your feelings, and your physical body. Because we truly can create anything we want. But we have to believe it at first. But most of us are taught, well, you see it first, and because you see it, you will believe it, right? But how would it be if you would believe it first, you would feel it in every cell of your body, and then it would come in your reality? Because we are so incredible, powerful, but we have to guide our power and our consciousness on a focused, positive way, right? And not only for ourselves, but also for our family, for our loved ones, for the collective consciousness, for the earth.
Yeah,
it's so much more than just us.
There's one of the things that really accelerated my spiritual growth inside of Theta Healing was the ability to download any feeling, any knowingness. Do you want to know how it is to be truly happy? If you haven't known happiness all of your life, if you, for instance, have not known what it means to have mother love, all of a sudden you can download how that feels, the truth of source. How does it feel? Because sometimes you need to feel it before you can believe it, that there's something like that. And really, that is one of the things that brought me back into this theta healing modality all the time. I download the visions of the composers if I want to make music, and I download it in a way that it comes through how the composer meant it through my voice, what their ideas through my voice. Not, there is no one and only, because everybody who creates something brings something new, right? So it's always, but how is for you? I really would love to know if there, can you pinpoint a moment where you really knew, you know what? I just know I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to choose this, exactly, because now you're talking about you can choose every day. choosing from unconditional love is not a one-time thing. It's an everyday decision.
It is.
But when do we start with such a thing? When did you start to get this, oh, you know what?
Well, the thing is, as a child and even now, I always had and have big dreams, visions, things I imagine, things I would like to experience in my life. And one of the first things was that I wanted to move to Amsterdam. I was 17. I was fed up with the city I grew up in. I was city with the people here, but of course it was all projecting things that I felt inside of me. And I just thought, I am going to fashion school in Amsterdam. And I was 17 and I went. But at that point in time, I wasn't aware of choosing consciously from my heart or from unconditional love. It was just, I wanted to be in fashion. That was always my big dream. And it was really a struggle, 17, in a new city, doing a really tough study. And after 2 years, I was just, I don't know, how do you say it? I had so much willpower that I did everything from a point or perspective of willpower instead of being aligned to myself, to what I felt, to feel if you need rest, for example. I never needed rest. Of course not, just go. But at one point it breaks you up. So I was 19 and it broke me up. So I was forced, because I just didn't listen at all to myself, to quit the study. And it felt like failing. It felt really like failing. And as a sensitive person, the fashion industry, it was tough on me as well. And I was, at some point, it didn't scare me if it was like this or it was like this, I thought, well, yes. And so I thought, okay. And I went back to where I lived in the south of the Netherlands. And at that point, I already knew my husband now from high school. And he had an opportunity to go to the United States as a trainee. And that was the next point. Something deep down inside said to me, if you're not following him, you will lose him. So he went, and our relationship was off and on, 17, 18 years. It was not easy. No. But I just booked a ticket and I went there for 3 months, and I didn't discuss it with him. I just told him, and I said, well, I booked it. Here I come next week. And he was there for, I think, 1.5 years, and I came for 3 months and went back and came back, and we had the most amazing time. As 20, 21 years old, almost teenagers still.
Yeah.
And then in the United States, he was working, I was enjoying myself, and I really enjoyed myself. I thought I have to do something for myself, something I really love, because what was most important for me always and still is that whatever I do, it feels good, you feel the gratefulness, the fulfillment within, and not
that's a good compass, right?
Yes, how does it feel? So I thought, okay, I have Italian roots, my last name is Italian, and I don't speak a word Italian. Because my mom, she learned me Italian till I was 3, and then we came back to the Netherlands, and then it was only Dutch. So I thought, okay. And then Bart, my husband, he was already back in the Netherlands. He bought a house in Amsterdam, and I thought, okay, I will study Italian. Italian language and culture. But after fashion school and after being in the United States, there was such a big gap, because in fashion school, of course, you have to learn things, but most of the things you do in school are creative, are creative processes. You don't have a book and you don't have to learn what's in the book. It doesn't work like that. But Italian is something different. So I wasn't really successful in that study. And then while I was studying Italian, I was pregnant of our first child, and I was only 23. And I thought I won't go to university, with such a big belly. So then again, I decided to quit my study. And again, it felt like failing instead of a choice from empowerment, right? A choice from choosing that I could speak Italian. My grammars were not, perfectly right, but I could say what I wanted to say. So from that point of view, I succeeded, but it took me a few years.
Yeah.
Yes, and then, 9 months later, our first baby boy was born.
Yeah.
It shifted us both big time.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm feeling in because this in a way there's a learning curve, right? Where we feel things happen to us, like
or overcome us.
Like, oh, we cannot do this study and it's a failure. And what a relief to discover at one point there's no failure.
No.
You just make choices and your soul is leading you.
Yeah, and it's
if you let it,
learning experience.
And it's learning,
That's
and
all.
To look at life from a different perspective, to look at life and life challenges, heartbreaks, being broke, for instance, or having a failure in business, or like, apparently my soul wanted to experience this. What's there to experience?
Yes, and that's what I've really learned, everything has a reason. And we can look at all the things that happen in our life from a positive point of view or not. And we can see all situations or resistance or situations with people that were hard on us or hard for us. We can see it as, gifts and learning experiences. But what I've really learned is that everything has a reason. And when you consciously really know and feel the reason within, you have the possibility to change it.
Yeah.
You have
becoming conscious is so important.
Yes, and consciously of being aware that we are creating everything in our reality.
Yeah.
We create everything in our lives, but when you know this, you have to take responsibility for yourself, for your feelings, your thoughts, your physical body. And that's not always easy because you cannot pinpoint to someone else. That's your fault. No, you have to look within. What did I create? What did I wanted to learn? What did I wanted to gain out of it? Or for example, how did it motivated me?
Yeah.
Because some of the big resistant things in life really motivates us.
Oh, it does.
Right? To be a better person.
Absolutely. I've from a coaching perspective, I've always looked at, okay, you have an away motivation, I want to get away of it, and a forward motivation. That's a whole new point. And I love how Theta Healing sort of shortens that. Like, you know what? The away motivation is actually the I want to go motivation. It's just discovering, okay, but what did I really want to go? What was there? And but that's a beautiful thing to when those two come together, when those two become,
without judgments.
Exactly. So because this is to me such a beautiful miracle, like when someone like you who went through a life where you felt I had to close off my heart. And I
Mhm.
remember this very much for myself because I did the same thing. I remember that I was crying because there was a museum. I saw something of Michelangelo and I couldn't stop crying. It was just too overwhelming. And my classmates were like, "You crying? I thought you were," actually, they said, "you were a hard bitch." And I pretended to be. I was really good in pretending I was a incredible, cold-hearted bitch, just as it was. And
Mhm.
in under all of that, oh, so many feelings, right? So when did you felt like, is there, because for me it was most of the my children were such good wake up calls, like, you know what? There's just love. There's really, really love. Let go of the judgment inside of yourself, inside of others. But what was your? Mm, I think even when did you become tired of being judging?
Yes, and tired of being tired,
Yeah,
because it costs so much energy to keep up
exactly.
the appearance, right?
Wow, it does.
Mm,
It's
I cannot,
exhausting.
I cannot, point out one specific thing, but for example, the love between me and my husband,
Hmm.
that's a big one. We together have now 18 years. We have dogs. And animals, they are truly unconditional love. They
Oh,
love us unconditionally. Um, yeah, I really have to think about this. But I cannot remember or point out one specific thing. But of course, like you said, my children, they are like big, big mirrors. And also when you become a mother, you become really aware of what you want to give to your children, right? What kind of example you want to be to them. Do you want to repeat the example you had? And that was one thing I was really sure of. I won't repeat my examples. But I was confronted to look within.
mm.
And also what I discovered is you can choose to learn your lessons. You can choose to live life the hard way or differently. And on a gentle and kind way towards yourself. And I was also always projecting some kind of image to myself. When you are kind and loving towards you, you are sitting on the couch all day with a blanket and a cup of tea, petting yourself, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
not
I
the
laugh
highest
myself.
truth. It was my vision of loving yourself and being kind to
Oh,
yourself. And I was like, no,
oh,
I thought I will do this. I had really resistance in loving myself. So
yeah.
it was, it
And it's
feels,
so the opposite, right? Being kind to yourself is daring to go where you really want to go and
yes.
then make mistakes. Okay, whatever. It
Mhm.
make him feel uncomfortable. What? Just do it because
And you
something
feel,
inside you
it's
wants.
the urge within. That's the best way I
Mm,
can describe it. You feel such an incredible urge that you have to do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then it can be really scary what other people think, your family members, your soulmates. You can have really
Okay,
hot nights,
give me an give me an experience of that.
of the urge, you mean?
Yeah, of the urge, and that you sort of think like, I'm going to do that, but okay, how? What?
Yeah, I have so much examples. A lot of
Yeah.
them already told.
What?
The
Yeah.
piercings. the pink
Yeah.
hair,
Yeah.
going to fashion school, then following my boyfriend to the United States.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then becoming a mother at 24. And then moving back to the south of the Netherlands because we only had one bedroom and then our second one came and 2 dogs. That's really cozy in Amsterdam, but we needed space.
Yeah.
And the really big urge for me the past 7 years is to follow this theta healing path.
Yeah.
And to really work on my subconscious beliefs and to really change and resolve everything I'm able to change and resolve within, and especially as well for my children, that they can live their lives free and liberated without my genetic shit. And there's one big thing that's coming up, but I cannot go much into detail about that. But that's a big, big dream my husband and I had for 16 years. And this year, it's, dreams will become true.
And it will.
Yes, in August. So I will tell more. Another thing is the tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
I was really raised that you don't do tattoos, right? But I dreamt for this tattoo for 10 years. But I really wanted to have something that was important to me and didn't bore me, in a few years. So I asked to my husband, write the names of our children down. And the tattoo are the names of our children in his handwriting.
Oh, really? That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Wow.
And for example, I had an urge to become a theta healing teacher.
Yeah.
And I was really frightened, and for nights I was awake in my bed, but I felt I needed to do it, and I was supported.
Yeah.
From, the universe to do it. To go away from my family for 9 days and to just follow my heart.
Absolutely. You know what I think is really, really important to say and because sometimes spiritual healing, energy healing can sound like, woo, 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 we're just going through it, and then, or it becomes this heavy thing, and everything is so, but this is about choosing to go through it until you get it, and then you just clear it, but you have to get it. And until that time, it can be a little bit uncomfortable, but you get more and more brave to go straight into the lion's mouth.
Yes.
Because after a while, you'll discover once I'm in the lion's mouth, once I've faced the dragon straight in its head, I don't have to chop it off. I just have to go in. I see what's going on, and love comes in, and it is transformed like never before.
Yes.
And that makes it a whole different game, because we do no longer have to go through a whole long path. It does not have to be so difficult anymore. We are past that. We don't have to go through a lifetime of heaviness, this whole old paradigm with we have
Drama,
to bear the
chaos,
crosses of our
pain.
generation, and we might have done something awful in our past life, and so we have to go through it, and once you've got it, you can clear it, but you have to get it. There's this, that was the lesson, and on we go.
And that's the thing, it's this, you can change it in seconds.
Yeah.
And you feel better than ever afterwards, and you are so proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And you are like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah. And this is exactly why I want to have, this is my program, Divine Sisterhood, because we are here to change things up, right? It's like, come on, come on, come on. We don't. I am very patient, and at the same time, our souls really want to go. There's a lot that we want. And we can wait until we're receiving. And yes, I'm all for receiving mode. And I'm for the feminine moving with it. But there's also a sort of, you know what, I work with people who have an inner fire. But that inner fire needs not to be fired up by fear. It needs to be cherished. It needs to be warmed up by love. It needs to be enlightened by love, so it can take in space. And you coming in there and teaching that so that everyone inside of that group comes from the same space, has the same abilities, understands what it means to come from source and clean up their own things, so that we don't have to believe in a guru, and because we are all our own gurus. We're no longer in the paradigm of course I understand that there are wise people that we can honor, but at the same time we honor the wise people in us. We honor the wisdom, the source that is in us. That's a new way of looking at things, and the wisdom can come from a little kitten or a baby.
Yes, and to recognize it,
exactly.
To live your life not with blindfolds, but to be open to all possibilities.
Yeah.
And the thing is what you said as well is, it's receiving, but it's at the same point, it's really focusing on being really clear on what you want and take action.
Yeah. It's leader. We are able to come up as leaders from a deep, compassionate place and love, but it does not mean, as you said, that we sit on a blanket and all the time like, oh, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. But deep down, I'm really frustrated because I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that. You don't need to wait for permission. You don't need to wait until somebody saves you or discovers you, or until somebody is going to sign you up with a big contract. You can decide, what do I want?
Yes.
Right?
Most people, they don't know, because, for example, as a small child, they didn't got the space to get to know themselves and to really connect to their identity. So as grown-ups, they will have to figure out who they are, what they want, and what their identity is, right?
Yeah.
And we are all special, unique, and incredibly gifted and talented, but first it starts with knowing yourself. Who are you? What's within? What makes you truly happy? What makes your heart on fire, right?
When you think about what you can now offer the world, what makes you most happy?
Well, the inner knowing that we all have the power within to change our lives.
And how can people connect to you if they feel, you know what, this is a woman, she's a powerhouse, because you are. I want to connect with her. And because I am for, even our little sessions that we had, they were not little, they were huge. And I've seen how willing you are to create these deep changes within yourself. You are never arrogant in the way like I know better than you. No, you are completely open, like, you know what, I'm here to do stuff. And I'm going to work and to own thing, and I'm just going to do this. And you're an incredible space holder, and yeah, you lift people up deeply. And so so how can people connect to you? Because
Well, the easiest way is martinamezzetti.com.
yeah.
And I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram.
Yeah. And I feel I really want to say this because you are an animal healer as well, right? And that is so beautiful. So if if you have things with your horse or with your dog or with your cat and you don't understand whatever is going on, go to Martina. You know, just do it. So that's my just do it. Oh, sorry. Free will. No, of course. No, it's just that there are so many. Do you think that everybody is able to make choices like you did? That everybody has that ability?
Yes. Yes. But what I noticed is that sometimes you really need to be brave. And sometimes you really have to go through it, even if you don't want to, or if you have a lot of resistance. But most important is, your why within. Why do you want to do it? And for me, it was always that I wanted to feel good and well within. And I wanted to listen to my heart. And also surround yourself with people who support you, who love you unconditionally, right? And to believe in you. And at some point, when you are not really believing in yourself, that someone tells you, you can do this. You can do this. But what I know as well is everyone has a different path, and we need to stop comparing ourselves, our path, to another, because you just can't. The only thing you can is connect to your heart and listen to your heart and connect to the unconditional love, because that feeling will guide you. And as well, let go of control, that you will start at point A, but you don't know what point X is, for example. So let go of control, trust your heart, trust your gut feeling, trust source energy, unconditional love that is always there for you, and just go. Because life is pretty short, right?
It is. It is.
Pretty short. And please stop as well with thinking what other people might think, because people will always think something, but it's not about them, it's about you. And when you shift all those things within, for example, the fear of rejection, the fear of being alone, when you follow your heart, all your surroundings will change as well. Not because your surroundings will change, but because you will look from a different point of view to it.
Exactly.
And then what you described when you were a child, then everything becomes so much more beautiful. And you will see and you will recognize the love in everything. And it doesn't matter if it's small or big, it just exists in every cell, right?
Oh, that's such a beautiful ending. Thank you, Martina. Thank you, thank you,
dear.
thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for watching. And if you want to reach out to Martina, when you feel that, please do. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you, dear.